Picture this. You've just watched Apple's keynote and seen all the new features on the latest iPhone. So you decide to grab yourself an iPhone 16 Pro for about $1,000. So you go to Google, do a little price conversion, and you see it's about 17,000 Rand at the time of release of the iPhone 16 Pro. Not cheap, but the cheapest it's ever been. So you head over to your local retailer in South Africa. They check the prices and it's going for 26,000 Rand now, an extra 9,000, almost $500 more on top of the original price. What? So what's happened here? Well, that's what I'm here to do today. We're going to do a deep dive on why iPhones are so expensive in South Africa. So roll the intro and let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to Life and Tech with SK. I'm SK and let's dive into the topic at hand. Why are iPhones so expensive in South Africa? Where do all the price increases come from? Well, the short answer is the value of the Rand, reselling prices, and tax, of course. But that's not the whole story and you'll see why towards the end. So let's go through the life cycle of getting an iPhone to South Africa to explain. So here's your iPhone going for $1,000 or 17,000 Rand like we said, and it needs to get to South Africa. But there's no Apple manufacturing or Apple stores in South Africa, believe it or not. So that's where our good friend, the Core Group, come in. The Core Group are the official Apple product distributors for South Africa. You can check that on Apple's website. Side note, there is potentially news of a new Apple distributor coming to South Africa by the name of Aspis, but I don't know much about them and the Core Group have been around for 20 years, so we're going to stick with them. Now, there's another provider known as DigiCape and also some other smaller, lesser known providers. I've seen with DigiCape, you can save about 300 Rand on your iPhone 16 Pro. However, the reason I'm sticking with the Core Group is because the Core Group owns the iStore brand, which is one of, if not the most well-known iPhone store in the country. Furthermore, to double down on this, when you shop with the iStore, you can also get deals with your relevant cell phone provider, such as Vodacom, MTN, Telkom, you name it. And people will want to do that to get some data deals or some financing through them. Whereas with DigiCape, I've seen you can only get deals with Vodacom, which leaves out the rest of the customer base. Now, to triple down on why we're talking about the Core Group is because they are also partnered with some of the largest retailers in the entire country. Those being Macro, Takealot, Amazon, Incredible Connection, just to name a few. So you can see that their portfolio and their reach essentially spans the entire country. Now, given all this, they still have to import your iPhone 16 Pro into the country. And the key word there is import, because that means your phone is now going to be subject to tax and a truck ton of it. Specifically, 2 taxes and 1 levy according to this Tech Central article right here. And those taxes are 1, a luxury goods tax of 9%. Believe it or not, South Africa regards smartphones as luxury goods. And 2, your regular VAT tax at 15%. Now, the way you calculate your luxury goods tax and your VAT is a bit tricky, but you're going to have to bear with me. Let's start with the luxury goods. Well, for the luxury goods tax, it is 9% of the value of your item after VAT has been added on. So let's do this practically. You get your value of your item at $1,000. You then add 15%, which is VAT, on top of it, which gets you to $1,150. You then take 9% of that value, and that gives you how much luxury goods tax you need to pay on the item, which is $103.50. Now, moving on to the VAT calculation, which is again also pretty tricky, but bear with me. How that works is you now have to take the original value of your item at $1,000. You then have to add 25%. Now, I know that sounds high, but it's actually broken down into 2 parts. One is that you just have to pay straight up 10% of the value of the item. Plus, you also then have to pay 15%, and this is the levy I was talking about, which is an import levy on any goods that are imported into the country. Now, you add that 25% onto the original price of $1,000 and you get $1,250. You now take 15% of that value and that gets you how much VAT you need to pay. So now, if we put it all together, we've got $1,000 on the original iPhone. You then add your luxury goods tax of $103.50. Then you also add your VAT, which is $187.50. Putting all that together, your iPhone is now worth $1,291 once it gets through customs in South Africa, which puts it at about 22,476 Rand. Now we see that that price gap is closing, but we're still short about $202 or about 3,500 Rand. Now, I can't tell you if that's shipping and storage costs, maybe it's labor, or maybe a majority of it's just profit. I mean, if you're the only Apple distributor in South Africa, it could be. I also originally blamed the value of the rand, but I don't think that's entirely true because back then, when the iPhone 16 Pro released, it was 17 rand to the dollar. It is now 19 rand to the dollar, which is much worse. But the prices for the iPhone haven't gone up or down, they've stayed exactly the same. So that gap in that pricing of about 3,500 rand, we won't really know where that comes from unless the core group decides to give us a detailed breakdown of their costs, which is unlikely. But we can say that majority of the price increases, actually more than half, come down to tax. But you're probably saying,
Nah, SK bro, none of this tech stuff is specific to iPhone. I mean, Samsung, Huawei, Xiaomi, it doesn't matter. They're all smartphones, so why are you picking on iPhone?
well, let's run a comparison. Samsung S24 Plus releases at $1,000. At the time, it was 18 rand to the dollar, so it was going for about 18,000 rand. You check Takealot and Amazon right now, and it's going for about 21,000 rand. Still 5,000 rand cheaper than the iPhone. The Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus, which literally came out last week, the 23rd of Jan 2025, it released at $1,000 and it is currently 18 rand 50 to the dollar. Again, remember, the iPhone had a better release condition when it was 17 rand 41 cents to the dollar. The S25 Plus can be pre-ordered right now at 24,500 rand. Again, still 1,500 rand cheaper than the iPhone 16 Pro that came out in September of last year. Huawei Pure 70 Pro releases at $912. So at the time, it was going for about 19 rand to the dollar. So it was at 17,000 rand, similar to the iPhone was on launch. You check Amazon South Africa and you can find it going for 23,000 rand. Again, still 3,000 rand cheaper than the iPhone 16 Pro. So you see what I'm saying here? It seems like for one reason or another, iPhone really struggles with pricing in this country, and I cannot tell you why. But it doesn't matter because they still have the second highest market share in the country. Behind Samsung, of course, you know what I'm saying? Because it's Samsung. The purpose of this video is just to highlight this phenomenon that I've been seeing in the South African smartphone tech space for a few years now, and just to get people thinking and talking about it. Don't get me wrong, this is not an iPhone hate rant, because I would love if iPhones were cheaper in this country. I would love to just buy my family iPhones because, you know, they're really efficient. Like, guys, I love the efficiency of iPhones, but that's off topic here. If you have any other suggestions as to why this could be the case, this pricing gap in the smartphone tech space, then just let me know in the comment section below. Next, I want to cover why we don't get any Google Pixel phones in the country, because I don't see any on the shelves. I don't see any Google stores either. So if you want to hear more about that, also let me know so then I can start covering it. And if you want to check out all the things that iPhone released with their new, or Apple released with their new iPhone 16 models with their Apple Intelligence and stuff, you can check out my video here where we cover the whole Apple event in just 10 minutes. So it shouldn't take too much of your time. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video on iPhone pricing, please leave a like. And if you want to learn more about tech, please subscribe because we've got more coming. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.